Hello and welcome to this modeling series. Today we're going to model the front section of this bike. So we'll start with the rotor and then we'll move on to the wheel next. I'll go ahead and activate my grid, and what I'll do is define the wheelbase for this bike. So typically that number ranges between 50 and 65 inches. So I will go with 65 inches and let us activate the line tool, and I'm going to put it right here in the front section and then move it towards the back and press tab and type 65. Enter. So now this defines our wheelbase for the bike. So next is we're going to size the image. So let's select the image and we're going to scale it down so that the center of the back wheel matches this left end point right here on this line. So let's press S. So with S pressed, we are going to press V to move the pivot around. And I will snap it to this point right here. And I'll press S again to scale it down, and let's zoom in. Now press S again to scale it all the way down to this point right there, so that the center of the back wheel sort of aligns with this end point right here. So next, select this image again and press M and reduce the opacity to 0.5, enter, and then I will select this line and rename this to wheelbase, press enter, and then lock this line as well as the image so that we don't accidentally move them. Alright, so now let's zoom into the front section a bit. So you can see that the rotor is attached to the front wheel with these bolts right here. And that is what we're going to try and model. This AI image is not super accurate, but I think we can improvise as we're going along to make things look much better. Alright, so let's activate the circle tool, or you can just press Shift C to activate the circle tool. Snap it to this end of the line, click, and move your mouse until it's right about here, very close to the outer diameter of the rotor. So let's create another circle. So Shift C to create the circle, snap it to the center and move it so that it forms the inner diameter of the rotor. So this is accurate enough. Alright, so now we have two circles defining our rotor. And you can see that whenever you have a closed loop, Plasticity will let you select a region, right? So now this is one region and then this is another region. So I'll select this area and then rotate my view a bit. So I'm going to turn the perspective on so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, I'm going to press D on my keyboard. So press D to move this out a bit and click. And you're going to change this distance to 1 inch. This will form the thickness of our rotor. And now enter to get out of that tool. And now let's see. This gives us our rotor. Now let's go to the side view. Now select this area and then I'll press X to delete it. Select this area, press X to delete it. Alright, so what I just did was selecting the circles that I recreated and just deleting them, because sometimes they can get in, the sketches can get in the way of selecting other entities within the design. So now what I'll do next is create the perforated holes inside of the rotor. So let's go to the side view, and what I'll do is create a vertical line going up here, enter, and then Shift C to create a circle, and I'll put the circle right here. Press Tab to change the diameter of this circle to 0.4 and enter. Now we're going to select the circle we just created and then activate the rectangular array tool, and this will give you a way to create patterns which are equally spaced. And so I will move my mouse over to the right side here for this angle right here. So I'll click, that looks about right, and I'll hit enter. Now when you rotate, you can see that you can select the region enclosed by these circles that we created. And because this line, this vertical line is in the way, I'm able to click just 1/2 of it, of this circle. So I just hold Shift down and then select the other half as well. Now let's select these regions. What I'm going to do is type D on my keyboard, and this lets me create another object, and then just click and press W, and the W is for difference because I want these 3 cylinders I've created essentially cut through the rotor. So I'll press W, and I'll select the target object, which is the rotor, and then you can see that it has cut holes through the rotor just like I want it. So I'll hit enter, and what I'll do is select these circles I created and just delete them, because I want to be able to select the inside face of the rotor of these holes. So now let's go to the side view and press the slash key to focus everything in the view. So what I'll do is I will change this shape a bit. Okay, the arrangement of these holes here, I don't want it really linear, so I'm going to select the inside face of this hole, go to the side view and press G, and then press G again to move this. So I'll move it right around here. Okay, so now what I'll do is whenever you have the model disappear from the screen, just press the / key, and then it'll bring anything that is selected into focus. If you have not selected anything, it'll bring the whole entire design into focus like that. Alright, so now I'll select this and press the slash to focus on it, and let's select, actually let's see, yes, let's move this a bit to the right. So press G twice and move it that way. Okay, that's good enough. So let's select these edges of these holes, and because I am in X-ray mode, I can see the other edges on the other side. So I'll just select those without even rotating the whole object or the whole model. And I will press C for chamfer. So when you press C, you create chamfers. When you press D, you create fillets. Okay, so I don't want fillets, I want chamfers. Alright, so now these are the chamfers I want to create, and I'll hit enter to accept. Now what I want to do is select that interface the inner faces of the holes we created and the chamfered faces as well. So let's rotate and go to the other side and click on that. And now we've selected all the faces of the holes that we just created. And then go to the side view, and you're going to use the radial array this time to create the pattern around the rotor. So activate the radial array tool, and what we'll do is click on the center of this rotor, and you can see the pattern has shown up already, and we're going to increase the number to right about here. So we'll go with 23. All right, so now we're going to hit enter to accept, and let's press slash to bring it in focus. So right now I think the inner holes are too close to the inner diameter, so I'm going to select the inside face and either drag this dot, this yellow dot, or I will just press D on my keyboard. See, all the shortcuts are right here at the bottom right of your screen. So whenever you activate a tool, just quickly look in this direction and you will see all the shortcuts and how to quickly activate all those shortcuts. So I'll press D, and this will allow me to move the inside face, or the inner face of this rotor, and size it appropriately. So let's say I want it to be right there is fine. All right, I think the outer face may need to be increased a bit. Okay, all right, so now this looks fine. What I'll do is I'll hit OK to accept. And now what I want to do is to create the inner structure. When you look at this image, there seems to be an inner structure that is holding on to the rotor and allowing us to attach that rotor to the wheel. So we'll try and model that, okay? But before we do that, let us see. We can probably hit this with a chamfer real quick here. So let's see. Select these two edges, and let me see if a fillet will do. Okay, let's do a fillet. So let's create a fillet and bring it out to maybe 0.93, sorry, and then hit enter, and that gives you a pretty nice fillet on the edges. All right, so what I'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and, let's say, create a pattern around the inner diameter of this rotor. So let us activate the circle tool and then snap it to this line right here, and we will create a circle with diameter of 1.2 maybe, right? And hit enter to accept. So now what I want to do is create another circle, so Shift C. So now let's create a circle that will define the inside profile of the pattern I want to create. So I'll put it right about here, and then I'll select the circle and then activate the radial array and then click in the center, and this time we have 12 circles going around. Okay, all right, good. So now I am going to activate the circle tool again. I'll select this center point and move my circle all the way to touch right here which is the inner circle that we just created. And I'll hit OK. And then what I'll do is, with that circle selected, activate the radial array again, and let's create a pattern around here. So now we're going to click and hold and select the tangent circle. So I want to create a tangent circle right here, touching this outer circle and that outer circle. And then what I'll do is let it touch this big circle right here in the inside. All right, let's press T to trim, and I want to trim this arc and that arc. And now I have this shape right here. Okay, so what I'll do is select that big semicircle, okay, a big arc right here, and then create another radial array, snap it to the center, and we have this shape. So now what I'll do is take my trim tool and get rid of this and that and these lines right here. All right, so now I'll enter, then click this and then press X to delete it. And you can see that there's a shape right here in the center, but that's not what we're going to use yet. Okay, so let's see here. I think, all right, so let's undo real quick, because I think this arc is too big right here. Right, so now let's get to this point. So the neat thing about plasticity is you can undo all the way to the beginning of the modeling. So now with us at this point, I am going to press and activate the tangent circle tool, and I'll come back here and I'll select that circle, select this circle, and I'm not going to select this circle, but I'll bring it a little bit down like so, and then click. All right, so let us press T to trim, and then press this arc and that arc to trim it, and let us trim this one as well, and enter. And I'll select this circle, and I will actually, yeah, let's go ahead and delete it. We don't need it. All right, so now select this arc, activate your radial array tool, and snap it to the center. And now you have this. All right, so let's select this line, press X to delete, and now I have this pattern in the center. Okay, so let's go to the side view. I'm going to press Shift C for a circle tool and create a circle from the center to right here, the top of this circle, or the inner diameter of that rotor we created. All right, so now that gives me the ability to select these regions, right? Okay, so next what we'll do is select the last object or the last curve in the outliner, and then select the top curve. Okay, so you hold Shift, select actually, to select all the objects, and what I want you to press is the period key on your keyboard. So when you do that, this isolates any object within any selected object within your design. So I could select this circle and press the period, and you can see that each time I press the period, I am going into different layers of the isolation. So this is the second layer of isolation. And then when I press the period key again, it brings me back to the first layer of isolation. If I have an object selected and I press period, it moves me forward again to the second layer. And then press period again and you come back to the first isolated layer or level. So let me select these two, and then I press period, and now I'm in a second layer or second level of isolation. So if I select this object and I press period again, it takes me to a third level of isolation. So you can kind of see the pattern here. So now let's hit period again, deselect any object here, and now it brings us back to the first level. So what I want to do is essentially delete all of this, okay? Actually, let's see. Let's select this circle, and actually let's select everything right here. So I'll select everything here and I will delete. Let's go the other direction so that I leave out the outer circle right here. So I'll press X to delete. Let's delete that and that. And I could probably delete these as well. So the other thing is the selection. If I right select, which means from left to right select on a group of objects, the bounding box would select objects that are totally, completely within the boundary, the bounding box, which is the green section here. So you can see that the big circle, which is this, was not in the bounding box, and so it was not selected. Same deal here, because these objects or these curves were within the bounding box, selection box. They were selected essentially. Now if I go right to left selection, it selects any object that touches the bounding box. It doesn't matter whether it's fully enclosed, right? So that is something I needed to point out. Now let's right select these and press X to delete, okay? Actually, let's not delete it because that would change this section right here. So let's right select these, delete, and then delete this. Now we're left with just these two. Create a vertical line through the center, and I will select this curve and press Option X, or in this case it'll be Alt X for Windows users. And then I'll press F because I want the freestyle mirror, okay? So Alt X activates the mirror tool, and then press F to define your axis of mirror. Okay, so I'll choose this line so that I can bring this curve over to the right side, okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to trim this circle right here. So I'll activate my trim tool by pressing T, and then trim this outer side of the circle. So now let's select this arc and create a radial array tool like so. Alright, let's add this arc to it and see the results. Alright, I think this will do it. So now let's snap that to the center, and I will press J to join everything. Alright, so now let me select this pattern here, or this shape. I'll press G twice to move it. You can see that there's another arc here that I do not want. So I will press this, select that arc, and delete it. So now what I want to do is activate my trim tool and get rid of this arc right here. And this is what I want. Okay, now we have this. Actually, let's delete this. We don't need it. So select this circle and then create the array tool. Use the radial array tool to create this pattern right here, and then press enter. So now I can press my period key to go back, or I can just click on this isolate button right there, and then we go back. Alright, so now I have different areas or sections to select. So let's delete this line, and I'll select this section right here, and I'll press D on my keyboard to create that solid. Okay, so as I'm moving the mouse, I'm going to hold Control and I'll snap it to the edge of the rotor, and then I'll enter or press OK to accept. Now let's select this area and delete it because it's in the way, because we want to definitely see the different pattern. So now let's create a little, aesthetic part inside of this hole right here. Okay, so what I'll do is I will activate the circle tool and I'll snap to the center of the circle. Okay, and you can kind of see it. Actually, let's see if I can get rid of this image right here. Alright, so now I disabled the reference image, and you can see what I'm trying to do here is activating the circle tool and then snapping it to the center. And the great thing is that Plasticity gives you the ability to snap to the centers of any of these primitive shapes right here. So now let's put a circle right here. Actually, let's put it right here, and then create another circle and put it right there like so. Okay, let's put some measurements to this so at least we're consistent right here. So Shift C and hit tab, and I want this to be 0.7 inches. So now rotate a bit, and you can see that you can select these regions, which is really, really cool. So now let's select this region, and then we're going to press D on our keyboard and move it all the way out. And while we're moving, we're going to snap it to this edge. So now we have this, and so I'm going to select this face right here. Actually, let's delete this circle. So I'll select that new object that we just created, this new hollow cylinder that we just created, and I'll press the period key. You see how it's isolated just that object, which is very cool. So I don't need to isolate it right now, but I just wanted to show you. So let's select this face and then select the other face on the other side. Let us use the distance. Yes, let's use the distance. So just press D on your keyboard. Okay, so press D on your keyboard to just bring it out. Let's see here. Let's put some measurement to this. So press D on your keyboard and bring it out maybe 0.08 inches. And then what I'll do is let's delete the circle and then select this edge and that edge as well as that. And this is a bit difficult to see, so let's see, let's rotate. Okay, yes. Now press C, and let's put a little bit of a chamfer right here, which is fine. So 0.028 in the negative direction is good. So now when we go to the side view, you can see that we have this object in here. So now let's hit this with the render mode. You can really see what is going on here. Deactivates the X-ray mode so we can see here as well. Alright, so enough of the fun. Let's get back to business here. Alright, so in the side view, I would want to select this new object that we created inside of one of these holes, and we're going to use the radial array tool again and snap this to the center. So just like that, you can see that we've created this radial pattern here. So I'm gonna just type 12 and then OK to accept. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is let's activate our image again. Now what I want to do is just create the inside structure that is going to bolt onto the wheel. Shift C again, snap it to the center, and move this to around right here. So tab and press and type in 7.5. Okay, let's reduce the opacity of the reference image. Select the reference image and press M. Reduce this to 0.2 and select and hit OK. Now we will draw a line from the center to the center point right here and create a circle. Hit tab and type 2.6. This will be the axle for the front wheel. Activate the circle tool and click right over here. Hit tab and press 1. That will be a 1-inch circle in this position. So with that circle selected, press the radial array, snap it to the center, and you have this. Now what I want to do is create a line from the center point to that center point. Alright, now what we're going to do is create an M-shaped object right here. So let's activate the line tool again, snap to the center, that center, to this center, that, and that. Okay, now let's make sure this is at the center. So let's undo, select this line and get rid of it. Activate the line tool, snap to the center, that center, that center, that, and that. Alright, so now we have our M shape here. The next thing we want to do is to create another shape which is going to go in the opposite direction. So let's activate the line tool, snap to this center, and snap to this center right here, and then snap to that center. Okay. Now select both shapes and press Option J or Alt J, and this breaks these objects apart. And so with these lines selected, press O for the offset tool and press D to move them a little bit apart like this. Now you're going to press a tab to duplicate or to mirror it on the other side. So now we have this shape right here. So what I'm going to do is create a circle at the center point and snap it to that edge right here. Repeat this process for this circle, and then repeat the process for that circle. Alright, I think we have one more circle right here on the right side, and that should do it. So what I want to do is select the center point or the center line right here, delete this, select these center lines, and X to delete. So now this is what I have. So let's see. So the next step is activate your line tool and snap it to the center right here. And what I want to do is to trim some of these lines out. So let us actually delete this line we just created and then trim away all of this right here in the center. Alright, I think this line might not. Let me see here, trim tool. Okay, so it looks like these two lines are not on the same plane as this circle right here. So I'm going to select these two lines, press G to move, and then press X because I want to move it in the X direction. I'll hold Control and I'll snap it to one of these endpoints. So now when I press the trim tool, I should be able to trim this and that. Okay, so let's trim this, and what I'm going to do is to hold this down and select the tangent circle tool. I'm going to draw a tangent circle from this line to that line and have it essentially be right here. Yeah, I think this should be fine. So that should do it. And let's see, I think I messed up on this line, but I can select the endpoint of that and press Shift E and then D to extend this line right here. And then let's delete this, select this line and Option X to mirror and press F and just throw it on the other side. Okay, so now I can use my trim tool to get rid of some of these lines here. And these two lines are still not on the same plane, so let's select them, press G and X and just snap it to one of these edges, and then trim tool to get rid of that. Okay, so let's trim this one as well, and then I'm going to trim this and that and that and that. So you may kind of figure out what I'm trying to do here, but let me get on with this here. Let's see. So So let me trim these out. And I'm going to trim this and that so that we have this. And let us trim, I think this should be fine. So we'll do one side and then just mirror it. So that's the most important thing right now. So what I'll do is get out of trim, select these two lines, and select these two and press J to join them. And then select the apex of these two and press B for the fillet tool, and then press D and move it all the way like so, and hit enter. Now select these three, press J to join them, and then press B and fillet all of this and accept. And now I think we have one more fillet to do, which is on this circle right here. So what I'll do is select my trim tool again, and let's just select this, get rid of it. Select these two to join, and then select the apex, press B and D, and put the fillets right here like that. Alright, now we're going to delete this line, activate the line tool, snap it to the center, and now you're going to snap it to that center right there. Okay. And I am going to take the line tool again, and I'm going to snap it to the center right here. So now you can select your trim tool, activate the trim, get rid of this, get rid of these lines here and there, and we're going to get rid of this as well as that. Oops, I think I made a mistake. Alright, so now let's trim. Let's get rid of that as well as these lines. Okay, and that and that. Alright, so on this other side we're going to get rid of. Alright, so that was not valid. So let's get rid of these. I'll trim these as well. And get rid of these circles. Alright, so you can see one more trim to do. There you go. And let's get rid of these circles right here. Actually, let's keep one of them. So these are joined together, these segments are joined together, and what I want to do is put some fillets right here as well. So let's trim this and that, and then trim this circle here, select this line and the arc, and let's join it. I'll select these two apex, press B for the fillet, and D, and there you have it. So now I'll take that shape, that, and then this third one right here, and I'm going to mirror it actually along this line right here. So Option X, press F, and select your axis on this line. And then hit enter. Select this and that and press J to join. So now you can see that this is one object right here. Okay, and now this is also another object. So now with that done, let's delete this line and that line. We will select this object, that shape, that, and that. So all four of these, and you're going to use the radial array tool to put these in there like so. Alright, so once you hit enter, make sure you press J to join before you click anything else. So now this joins that object and it joins this as well. So let us click on this inner circle we created initially and press X and get rid of it. So let's select this shape, rotate to the other side so we can see it. Press D to create this shape right here. Hold Control and snap it to one of these edges right there. So just like that, this becomes the pattern we are trying to create in the inside of the rotor. Okay, so let's select this outer shape and we're going to press H to hide it. And let's press or select this inner shape, press H and hide it. Alright, so now we have, I think these curves are also in the way, so we will select those and hide those as well as these. And then let's select this and just hide that one as well. Alright, so something happened right here and we can just fix it easily. Select the region, press D to move it, and then snap it to one of these edges. But in this case, it's a separate object. So press Q on your keyboard for the Boolean tool, and then press your target. And because this is performing a difference operation, we want a union operation, so we have to press Q again. And that changes the color to purple, which means that both of these objects are going to join once you accept. Press OK, and now you have that side fixed. Alright, so let's put a hole in this portion of the shape here of the rotor. So activate your circle tool, snap to the center right here, and we would want to press the tab key and type 0.6. That will be the size of that hole. With that circle selected, activate your radial array tool, snap to the center, and accept. So let me show you one more trick to cutting these holes inside of objects as well. If you select the line instead of the region, the space or the area enclosed by the shape, you would create surfaces instead of volumes. So if I press E to extrude, so in this case I'm going to use the extrude tool to create the shape. So I'll press D, you can see that it's creating cylinders right here. But these are hollow cylinders, they are not volumetric, as in the case of when you use the area or you select the area. So in this case, you would have to use the Boolean tool to essentially cut through the object. So what you do is you press Q for the Boolean tool to be activated, and you have to select your target object. So my target object is this. And now I have to select my tool. So my tool will be this, that, and that. But you see, I have to hold down the Shift key so that I can select all of these as tools as well. So once it's selected, you press Enter, and you can see that it has cut holes in the object. But in this case, you have to select this and delete. So it's just an extra step, right? But I prefer essentially using the areas because it's much faster and I can perform the operation much quicker. So imagine if you had like 100 of these holes to create. You can't simply like click through each one of them and delete, just like I did a short while ago. So anyway, so now this is the rotor that we want to create, and let's see here. All right, so we have to make some holes in here as well. So we'll activate the circle tool, and let's create a circle and snap it to right there. All right, select the area, press D, and then press W key, and then what you're going to do is select your target, which is this one, not the initial rotor we created. We're going to select that one so that we can cut through that shape. Select this region to delete that circle. Now you're going to select the inside face of this object, okay, this particular one, and what you're going to do is to go into the side view and use your radial array tool to cut the other shapes as well. So in this case we want 6 of these. Actually, we want 12 of these. Sorry. Then enter to accept, and now you can see all your holes have been created within seconds. So now that we have this done, let us join some objects here. So we have 2 objects, which is that one, the last one we just created, and this. So let's isolate them and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So it's this object, right, and this object. So now let's put some chamfers in here. So let's select this inner object, isolate it. So I will activate the line tool, click over here, and snap it to, let's actually snap it to the center right here. Activate the line tool again, and we're going to snap this to that center. Select the end points of these 2 lines, press Shift E to extrude, and extend these right there. And you're going to select these 2 lines, and you're going to hit J to join them, and press C to cut. This activates the cut tool. It means I'm going to cut the object, which is this target object, with this V-shaped line that we have here. And then enter, and you can see that this is what is left. Okay. Actually, yeah, probably should have joined this as well. So now let's cut this. So I will select that object, press C to cut, and select my tool, which is that. And now I can cut this one off. So now I'm left with this, okay? So what I'll do is, let's join these two objects together. That should do it. And what I'll do is get rid of this line. Now I'm going to select this edge right here, as well as the bottom one, and this and that. And I'll select that edge, that, and that. Let's see here. And what I'll do is put the chamfer in there. So hit the C. Let's see, edge adjoining, not blended. Okay. Alright, so it didn't like that. So let's see, let's try another way. Select these two, chamfer this edge. We're going to go minus 0.0. Yeah, let's do minus 0.06. Oops. Minus 0.06. And then let's accept. Let's select that edge, that, and that. Okay, let's go right there, this edge, and chamfer this as well. So this didn't like it, so let's hold Option down and select that edge, and do Shift, Option, Select, and then Shift, Option, Select that edge as well. And we'll do the same for this edge, that edge, and that, all of these edges here. And we're going to press C to chamfer, and let's put minus 0.06 to be consistent. Alright, so now just like that we have the chamfers created here. And we are going to go back and select this object. Actually, before we do that, let us increase this a bit. Bring it outward. And then what I'm going to do is, let's bring it down a bit. Isolate this, and let's put chamfers on the edges right here. Let's try that again. And then what I'm going to do, I think that was too small. Okay, let's bring the surface down a bit, and we should be able to join the two objects. Alright, so select this object. We're going to use a radial array to join this together, and I will say OK, activate the Boolean tool, press Q again, join these, and now you have all of the edges chamfered exactly how we want it to do it. Now I'm going to join this and the main rotor right here. Now press Q again, and now I've joined these. Now let's see if I can put a fillet right here and a fillet right here. I press D, there you go. So now let's go into render mode and apply a material to this rotor. So click on render mode. With the object selected, press M on your keyboard and increase the metalness to 1. And now let's change the color and make it a little bit lighter. This should be good. And press OK. So you can see how the material looks like when it's applied to the object. So in the next video we will look at modeling the wheel and then attach the rotor to the wheel after that. So I'll see you in the next one.